Let's talk about one of Trump's latest absurdities, because in case you haven't noticed, the man seems to think he's the world's landlord. His latest stunt, slapping sanctions on South Africa for daring to, brace yourself, challenge the legacy of apartheid land theft. Now, if you take Trump at his word, he's merely a noble warrior standing up for an embattled minority. White farmers under siege, their land stolen without cause. Another battlefield in the so-called war on Western civilization. Sounds dramatic, right? Yeah, like a bad Netflix movie, because this isn't about justice. It's about shielding the last remnants of apartheid, propping up settler colonialism, and ensuring that the world order built on racial supremacy remains intact. And Trump? He's not acting alone. Behind him is a billionaire boys club with deep ties to apartheid South Africa and the pro-Israel lobby, both desperate to maintain a system of racial and territorial dominance. Elon Musk looms large here, not just as the face of Tesla, but as a central figure in what's come to be known as the PayPal Mafia, a billionaire boys club that hoards wealth, avoids taxes, and worships the free market like a god. And wouldn't you know it, many of them come from South Africa's white elite. Then there's Peter Thiel, one of Trump's biggest backers, raised in a South African city where Hitler was still openly venerated. Thiel, the guy who thinks economic power should reign over democracy and has even questioned whether women should have been granted the right to vote. David Sachs, another Musk crony, born in Cape Town, raised in the privileged bubble of the white South African diaspora. And then we have Roelf Botha, his grandfather, none other than Pik Botha, the last foreign minister of apartheid South Africa. These men aren't anomalies. They are the modern heirs of the colonial project that never truly ended. They grew up in a system where racial and economic hierarchy was treated as natural law. And today, they're using their wealth and influence to ensure it stays that way. Their opposition to South Africa's land reform, it has nothing to do with fairness. It's about keeping stolen land in white hands. And now for the biggest joke. You'd think Musk openly peddling Nazi imagery would make him a pariah among Israel's political elite, wouldn't you? Apparently not. When he pulled a Nazi salute at a Tesla factory in Germany, outrage lasted about 5 minutes. Instead of condemnation, Netanyahu called him a great friend of Israel. The Anti-Defamation League, the same group that screams anti-Semitism anytime someone dares criticize Israel, brushed it off as an awkward gesture. Why? Because Musk supports Israeli apartheid, and as long as he stays politically useful, his Nazi cosplay gets a free pass. Another one of the billionaire oligarchs around Trump is Miriam Adelson, owner of the Las Vegas Sands casino empire, Trump's biggest financial backer and one of the architects of his pro-Israel policies. She has dumped more than $100 million into his campaign, more than anyone else. And she's made her expectations crystal clear. Trump, in her view, has unfinished business in Israel. She wants the annexation of the West Bank, the expansion of settlements, and the total erasure of Palestine from the map. This is not a coincidence. The libertarian billionaires with South African roots and the pro-Israel lobby are working in lockstep. Their alliance isn't new. It's decades in the making. For years, Israel and apartheid South Africa weren't just allies, they were ideological twins. In 1976, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin toasted South African Prime Minister John Vorster, a former Nazi sympathizer and pro-Hitler militia leader, declaring that the two nations faced a common struggle against foreign-inspired instability. Translation, they both saw themselves as besieged colonial outposts in a world that refused to accept their racial hierarchies. And behind the scenes, the relationship ran even deeper. Israel helped build South Africa's arms industry, trading military technology for funding. Together they developed weapons systems, intelligent networks, and most damningly, South Africa's nuclear program. It was an open secret. Israel provided the expertise, South Africa the cash. And South Africa's apartheid government, they didn't even bother hiding their worldview. In an official publication they wrote, and I quote, "Israel and South Africa have one thing above all else in common. They're both situated in a predominantly hostile world inhabited by dark peoples." The formal alliance collapsed when apartheid officially ended, but the ideology, that never disappeared. It evolved. It found new champions. It secured new political patrons, and this is the ideology Trump is defending today. At the heart of his executive order against South Africa is the Expropriation Act. What is it? It's a law designed to correct centuries of racial land dispossession. Let's be clear, for generations, black South South Africans were driven off their land, forced into barren wastelands, while white settlers claimed the country's most fertile soil. Even today, 30 years after apartheid's fall, 75% of South Africa's farmland remains in white hands, despite white South Africans making up only 7% of the population. And how was that land acquired? Through fair trade, perhaps? Oh please. White officials in South Africa literally issued hunting permits, allowing settlers to kill the native San people for sport. The last such permit was issued in Namibia in 1936. But this isn't just a South African problem. This is settler colonialism, full stop. Ronnie Kasrils, a Jewish South